what do you think is the core theme of One Piece? Is this real, inherited through generations? Is it friendship or maybe freedom? I think the latest chapter gave us a hint about the core theme of One Piece that was always there, and today I want to talk about it. So, spoiler alert, if you are not up to date with manga, there will be some spoilers to chapter 1018, and today we are going to talk about the theme of sun and happiness and laughter and other things that are connected to sun god. So let's get into it. So in the recent chapter, we witnessed the conversation of Who is Who and Jinbei, and basically Who is Who explained that there is an ancient deity, Nika, who was worshipped by slaves because they believed Nika will bring smiles to their faces and maybe give them freedom. And I feel like this explanation of Nika really opened my eyes to how much of this theme we have in One Piece. And first of all, I really want to talk about the theme of the sun itself, namely rising sun. And you know, the very first chapter of One Piece, it was called The Romance Dawn. And yeah, it was a dawn of Luffy's adventure, so to say. We saw his very beginnings, but I think it also shows us that from the very first chapter, this sun theme, the theme of dawn, was already present. Thing is, Nika himself was considered a god of the sun, and some pirates used him as their ideology because fishermen had a long history of slavery, as Who is Who correctly mentioned. So they wanted to live under the sun, and maybe they weren't waiting for Nika to come and save him, but maybe they were taking Nika as an idea of this help that will bring them to the sun, and ran with this. And that's how sun pirates also got their name, because they believed that sooner or later they will bring themselves to the sun, just like Nika promised slaves in the ancient times that he will bring them to the sun, to the freedom. Because especially when you are incarcerated somewhere, you might not even see the sun, so it can also become a symbol of freedom. But honestly, sun symbolizes so many things. It can be happiness also, it can be hope, and it also ties very well with what we are talking about. But also the rising sun is a symbol of new beginning, new day, which is also what One Piece is all about. We are starting a new pirate era, yes, but we are also hoping to bring the whole One Piece world to this new day, new beginning, new era. So sun itself symbolizes so many things that are so precious for us in One Piece world. We want this freedom, but also we want unity. I think that's also very important, because sun shines for everyone. We see sun from any point in our planet, and it really something that unites us. We all look at the same sun, so you can also argue that sun can be the symbol of unity, of united people. And this is so important for One Piece, especially with the red line dividing the world, with class dividing the society. And if we manage to bring this world to its new dawn, we have to destroy the red line. We have to bring everyone together despite their class, maybe abolish class somehow, so there are no celestial dragons, everyone is equal, so to say. Well, it's not socialism, so to say, but still I'm talking about uniting the world under the same sun, metaphorically. So I think that's what makes Nika, the son of God, so interesting in my eyes. And yeah, evidently, sun god was already mentioned before in the story in a few instances, in Big Mom's flashback, in Skypiea, but this is the first time we get some more particular information, especially like about the slavery and about Nika himself, that he is shown to be so joyous and happy, but I'm going to talk a bit more about his qualities and his possible relation to Joy Boy a bit later, because first of all I want to explore the themes of sun, going to happiness, and to of course smiles and laughter. I think it's worth mentioning that sun is also used for navigation. It can be used for navigation, and I think that's very important because we don't know how ancient people lived, but I think even at that time they traveled through the whole One Piece world, maybe at the time when the red line wasn't even there. And so to travel through this world, which is mostly water, you need to navigate somehow. That's very important. And Nami is like one of our very first Nakama, because navigation, we really need this to our adventure. Of course, Nami's hair, you are probably surprised, why am I talking about Nami's hair? Yeah, it's kind of connected to tangerines maybe, but look at it this way, and don't call me crazy please, but her hair is bright orange, which is also can be one of the shades of the sun. Yeah, it's usually yellow, but it's also orange, especially if we are talking about a rising sun. When the sun is rising, it can be like pinkish, orange-ish, reddish, so it's all the colors that can be found, like not all the colors. You can say Shirahoshi's hair is pink, so also one of the shades of dawn. Nami's hair is orange, one of the shades of dawn also. Yeah, it could also be sunset, but I think it makes more sense to talk about dawn since we are talking about rising sun here. And even tangerines themselves, if we go this far, they're round and orange just like the sun. What I'm trying to say here is I'm not sure how intentional it was, but it could be seen as another one of little hints that he put in his manga to show us how important actually this theme of new rising sun and new beginning is. And also we have to note that it is a Japanese manga, obviously, as we all know, and Japan is called a land of the rising sun. True name of Japan is Nihon, which basically means land of the rising sun, and even their flag is a freaking sun. You can't argue that Oda might feel that this theme is close and important to him too, and that's one of the reasons he wanted to incorporate it here. So now that we've discussed how important the sun in One Piece is, before going to laughter and happiness, I also want to note a few things, and that's very important. Okay, that's not my idea. I was reading up on Twitter about this chapter and about people's ideas on Nika and Sun God, and something caught my attention, and that is so true. Try to draw the simplest straw hat. You are going to make a line and half a circle. What does it look like? It looks like a rising sun. So you can argue, and I think this is such a fantastic theory. Straw hat is a sign, is a symbol of a rising sun, and especially when we see this hat being passed through generation to generation, it's kind of inherited will of someone trying to be like the king of the pirates, the freest person in the world, and someone maybe destined to bring the whole world to freedom and unity like we were talking about. So Luffy having this straw hat, having this symbol of a rising sun on his head, I think is so important. And you can argue that when this hat is on someone's head, it makes a full circle, because here is the line, here's the half circle, and another half circle is your face. So when there's a person connected to this hat, it stops being just a symbol. It becomes something that can be executed into reality. There's a person who can help this sun rise and come to fruition in a way. So I think that's very interesting. Also, there was a chapter in One Piece that was called Half Moon, Hidden by the Clouds, and I feel like there could be a chapter about Half Sun, hidden by the clouds. Why? Because Straw Hat does look like this half sun, hidden by the clouds for now, but I'm sure the clouds will clear and then we will see the full sun by the end of the series, and I think that's so interesting and important. And also, yeah, I wanted to say, like, we are waiting for the sun to rise in One Piece World. We are waiting for the better days to come. And if we really see Luffy as of now, I'll talk more about this later, about Luffy and Nika and Kind Inherited will here, but I just want to make a parallel between two suns, so to say. We can say that something opposite to the sun is the moon, and we have Enel on the moon, but that's the whole other story. I think it can be very relevant, but for now I want to talk about Black Sun, about eclipse, and I think we can find this in the character of Blackbeard. So we have something opposite to our sun that brings us heat and light and hope and happiness and freedom and friendship, all of these good things. And it can all be covered, enveloped in darkness. And Blackbeard is the character who has this power of darkness. Can this really be coincidence? Of course not. We have here some kind of a parallel of an opposition, if you will, between the light, the sun, Luffy, and darkness, the black sun, the eclipse, Blackbeard. And I think that's another hint for us that Blackbeard is kind of a main villain, so to say, in One Piece, because it was always underlined how he's kind of like Luffy, but also he's opposite in many ways. And I think now we got ourselves another detail that shows the opposition between them. So I think that's very interesting and worth exploring. I already mentioned the hair color as one of the hints and symbols, but for some people it might not seem that serious. But hear me out on the names of the ships. I'm sure many people noticed this. We started with Going Merry, and now we have Thousand Sunny. I think now this is more important than ever, especially since before Sun God was also like briefly mentioned, but now we have our full attention on him, and we can say safely that the name Thousand Sunny means so much. It's another hint for us that it is our crew, the Straw Hats crew, the crew of the rising sun, that is connected to all this sun god law and will bring joy and sun to the world. But at the same time, you will ask, and what about Going Merry, right? She was also very relevant to the story. We also got attached to her very much. Well, Going Merry brings us actually on a new journey in this video, on another part that's connected to happiness and smiles and laughter. Going Merry, what is behind this name? We are merrily going on this adventure to be later brought to the Thousand Sunny, on which we will bring the dawn to the world. To be merry means to be happy, delighted, smiling, dancing, everything. So basically, to be happy. And the theme of happiness and laughter is so important in One Piece. Joy Boy, a character everyone likes to talk about, is basically about joy. The sun god Nika was believed to bring smiles on slaves' faces. So again, smile, laughter, happiness. Everyone in the clan of D smiling before death. Also the very important sign, maybe of them being Joy Boy actually, because it's also all connected to smiles and laughter. And going back to Nika, I think the detail that I found the most important, that I also found on Twitter, because I don't know Japanese, but Nika essentially is a sound effect for laughter in Japanese. I think that's so important because this theme of laughter goes through the whole manga, and we see it so often. I think living your life merrily and having no regrets because of the way you lived your life is what makes these people smile before dying. Because that's how they feel. They have no regrets, they have no reason to be sad because they lived their life to the fullest with happiness. I think this could be a good explanation. And I think laughter also can be a weapon in a way. I'll explain what I mean. When I was studying in university and we were researching old Russian folk tales and we were talking about old beliefs that our folk had, I think the teacher mentioned something so interesting. Laughter helps people to defeat the devil. Basically, the idea is thus. Laughter helps you to defeat evil, to defeat bad things. And I think right now this is so important. I'm sure not only Russian people in olden times thought of that, and I think that's also what Oda is trying to bring to the table. Again, going from the theme of sun and happiness, we are going to the theme of laughter, being able to change the world to the better and to maybe banish evil, so to say. It might sound like an idealistic idea, but I think as a theme in One Piece, I think it works very well. Jolly Roger also works so well with this idea, connecting it to the pirates. And I read chapter 1 for this, and I noticed a very interesting moment when Lucky Roo and other members of Red Hair Pirates they encourage Luffy saying, hey, the pirate life is so good. We are always happy, we have freedom. Well, maybe not always happy, but we are happy. We have freedom to travel the world, we are laughing, smiling, we are having fun, and we have the panel where with Lucky Roo in the center, they are all dancing and laughing. And I thought that was a very interesting panel because it showed like Luffy's expectations of being a pirate. I would say he wants freedom first of all, and of course if he encounters someone who doesn't have freedom, he will also try to free them. He not only cares about himself, but of others also. And him going under the Jolly Roger, on Going Merry, and then on Thousand Sunny, all of this, uniting these themes together with piracy, I think that's why, maybe that's one of the reasons Oda chose all these themes, because they are so easily united and it looks so beautiful as a whole picture. I noted that Lucky Roo and others were dancing, and I thought it was very interesting, and I'll explain soon why, because now we are going to talk a bit more in depth about Nika, Joy Boy, and what it means. Are they the same person? How are they influencing the next generation? So let's talk about that. We know Nika existed in ancient times, and we heard separately about Nika and Joy Boy, so we could argue that they are different people. Maybe Nika existed before Joy Boy, maybe Joy Boy came later, and we also know that Joy Boy is kinda a title, and Nika could be actually a name. So we can't say for sure yet, but I think the consensus in the community is that everyone believes that Nika and Joy Boy is the same person. And from this, I think the thing someone found also on Twitter comes to a new light, because someone found Joy Boy as a character in West Indian actually mythology. This is a book that's called Things That Never Were, so it's kind of, we don't know if the actual person like this existed, and actually with the passing of time he received this aura of a character, or maybe kind of like even a deity, because I think that's especially what happened with Nika Sun God in One Piece. Maybe he was just a regular person, and we saw people receiving the title of God in Skypiea, so he was just some person named Nika, and after his actions at some point people started bring it into a mythology, like history slowly became mythology, and they saw him as a son of God. Or maybe at the time that he was alive he already was proclaimed to be a god, like Enel or Usopp. This is kind of a title. And Joy Boy is also like God. We have a title, Joy Boy, and we think that it's a title because of Kaido's words when he said to Luffy, like, looks like you cannot be Joy Boy. So now it clicked in our heads, like, okay, so any person who has potential can realize it and become Joy Boy. So who is this West Indian character, Joy Boy? I think that's super interesting because he personifies the person's need to dance, laugh, and jubilate. So you can see how well it goes with our theme. I don't even have to say anything. And he also has this connection to the slaves, just like the sun god Nika, because he seems to have traveled to the Caribbean with the first shipment of slaves from West Africa. He always smiles. He cures troubles by beating his drum, and if you hear it, you are compelled to dance and sing along. I found some very interesting points in here, and I want to start by dancing. Okay, I already mentioned Lucky Roo and others dancing in the first chapter, and I want to go back to the theme of dancing, and along with that, please remember that Kaido mentioned that someone else also had the potential to be Joy Boy and didn't realize this potential. I think I have two candidates that he could be talking about. First of all, it's Roger. We kind of know that he was trying to be a Joy Boy. He really knew something and he was going straight through this path. But when he understood that he was too early, he was like, okay, then someone will have to be there when Shirahoshi, well, he didn't know her name yet, when Shirahoshi will be born, because I guess Joy Boy will need these ancient weapons by his side. So he thought, like, I am too early. I will either die by this time, or like of my illness, or even without illness I would die maybe from old age, maybe not, but not be at my peak strength anyway. So that's why he couldn't be Joy Boy. But we also have another character, Oden. And I think it's so peculiar that in his flashback he was dancing and laughing on the streets. Why? Because he wanted to save the slaves, the people of his country that Kaido enslaved. If this is not basically the same what we were talking about with the sun god Nika, then I don't know what is, because that's basically all the same themes: dancing, laughter, trying to save the slaves. So I feel like in this and always Oden was always like smiling and cheery and laughing, and I feel like he also had this potential to become Joy Boy. And honestly, in my opinion, Kaido was actually talking about him. He also saw Oden as a strong opponent, and I think he was thinking to himself, maybe Oden will become the new Joy Boy. But then he realized that no, of course, then Oden died, and he thought, yes, so he couldn't realize this potential. And now he also saw some similar potential in Luffy, but since Luffy couldn't defeat him, he thought, well, Joy Boy would be able to overcome any obstacle, and since Luffy is defeated now, I guess he cannot be a Joy Boy either. Like Oden could not become a Joy Boy. Also, he says this maybe after thinking that he killed Luffy for good, so it also brings this connection because Oden died and in his eyes Luffy maybe died, and he is saying, okay, so Oden died, he couldn't become Joy Boy. Now you died, you also couldn't become Joy Boy. Now this is the end of the road for you. We can go into talking about Kaida's expectations. Does he wait for Joy Boy for some reason? But I think that's kind of material for another video. I don't want to stray too far away, and I really want to explore a bit more about this potential of being Joy Boy, or about Sun God Nika. Whether Nika is the first Joy Boy, or maybe the previous Joy Boy that we are usually talking about, if there were several of them, their goals are the same. They wanted to bring the world to freedom and to unity. We know about Nika that he wanted to help slaves, probably. At least slaves believed that he wanted to help them. We know about Joy Boy that, well, we have the theory that probably he wanted to abolish this red line, destroy it, and help fishmen live under the sun. So again, bring them to the sun, going back to the theme of sun and freedom. And basically that's what I expect from Luffy. And you might say, well, if many people have the potential to be Joy Boy, to receive this title and become like a god of sun in people's eyes, like Usopp became god Usopp, like Luffy can become a god of sun. Doesn't have to be Luffy. I think there are a lot of hints pointing at Luffy, as I already mentioned before, all the hints about our crew and our ships and the color palette. I'm not going to repeat them here. I'm going to talk about other things that people also noticed, and it's of course in Skypiea. I think that's a very important arc to reread. I didn't have time to read the full arc yet, and the last time I read it was already a few years ago, so maybe I should, but it's the place where we first found out about like people who could get the title of God, and I think there are a lot of very important information for One Piece lore. We have chapter 253, and people even say, I didn't see any proof, but I believe them because many people are saying this, that Oda actually stated that this scene is like one of his favorites in One Piece, and he really wanted to draw this scene where they are all dancing by the bonfire and Luffy's shadow. It looks very similar to Nika's silhouette that we saw in the latest chapter number 1018. So it could be like a direct reference. Look, here's Luffy and here's Sun God Nika. Let's put these two together and understand that Luffy has the potential to become this sun god in people's eyes. And of course, maybe some people would be like, yeah, but Luffy, I don't want him to be some kind of god or anything. It would be too much. I don't want this. I understand this completely. But again, the god is kind of a title that people give to you, like a title of saint. You can also draw a parallel here. So I don't think it would hurt Luffy's character in any way. And he himself obviously would not call himself god. It would be just the things that he, we hope, is going to do for One Piece world will earn him this title of God. Maybe not even in the present time, but later in history, when history will slowly become mythology, people will talk about the past and say, this sun god, he destroyed the Red Line, he united the world, he abolished slavery, things like that. I also want to go back to the description of this West Indian character, Joy Boy. He was beating his drum, creating this irresistible rhythm, and people were compelled to follow this music, so to say, and dance and sing along with him. Are you reminded of someone in One Piece story? Maybe of some certain character that is believed to have this innate ability in him to attract people to himself and make even enemies his friends. Someone who has this special charisma in him. Of course, that's Luffy. And I think people around him are compelled to follow his drum, Luffy's drum, so to say, metaphorically. And for me, this, along with this shadow, and this is like, of course, Joy Boy West Indian character. It wasn't like stated in the manga somewhere written, yes, this is this character. Like, we didn't have this information about Joy Boy in the story, you know what I mean? The thing I read you about, the drama and everything. But I think we can make these connections ourselves by the information we found, and I think it really can be the proof that Luffy is the one in this manga who is destined to become new Joy Boy. Luffy's potential is what Shanks is betting on, and I'm certain that by the end of the series, Luffy will unite the One Piece world under the same sun, and everyone will dance and be happy and jubilate. That's mostly all I wanted to say for this video. It's already a very long one. I really wanted to talk a bit more about Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Mi, Rubber Rubber Fruit, because I think it's also very important and we got some new information on this. But for now, I'm just going to say maybe this fruit belonged to Joy Boy or Sun God Nika, and it's only like the idea of the fruit that world government is scared of because of who it used to belong to, and it's not because this fruit is overpowered or something like that. We can also note that Luffy can be like a natural enemy of gods, not only because of this D in his name, that we know D are natural enemies of gods, but also since he has this immunity to Enel's abilities, and Enel is like a god in One Piece world, and he has this immunity thanks to his fruit. So maybe this point is very important, and then maybe rubber fruit could be used to destroy Red Line. Maybe it will not be destroyed like by brute force, maybe it will somehow be turned into rubber thanks to Luffy's awakening. But this video was mostly about the themes of One Piece, the themes of sun and laughter and happiness, and how they are all beautifully tied together, and how there are so many beautiful little details in the manga itself, like the names, titles, the ships, and the color palette, as I mentioned, that support this huge theme that I think was so often overlooked. But now, thanks to this sun god, we now know how important sun is to One Piece and how many ideas, themes it brings to us, how it connects to happiness and freedom and to laughter, also very core values in One Piece. And so I hope that this exploration, this analysis and discussion video helped you maybe achieve some new ideas and theories by yourself. So please, if you did think of something new, some new crazy theory, share them in the comments down below. That would be it for today. Thank you for watching and see ya!